We are currently running a competition. We run competitions every month and it gives you guys the chance to win something to say thanks for supporting the channel. So all you need to do is make sure you subscribe to the channel and you need to answer the question. Welcome to a new video. I am back on a bank. You join me in the Cotswolds. I'm doing some big carp hunting today. I've come up for a night and I'm on one of my syndicates. This is a really tricky lake in the Cotswolds. It's about 30 acres, only got about 100 fish in it, but there's some absolute gems in this water. The weather is looking banging. It's wet, it's windy, it's mild, and it's just into March now as well, so it's perfect weather for this time of year. Although we have had a lot of weather like this through the winter, it's starting to warm up properly now. It's starting to look a little bit more like we're going into spring, and I'm hoping the carp in there have woken up properly and are on the feed. So I haven't got long until it's going to be dark. Probably only got about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. So I'm going to get the kit out. I'm going to get around to an area that looks good. Location is key, and I have been looking for a while, but I'll talk about that in a bit once I'm sorted. Let's get the gear out. Let's get on the move. Let's go and catch a big one. Let's do it. Cool, days like today, could definitely do with a power barrow. Cool. Oh man. The weather is definitely cutting across into this bank more. So I feel like the fish will be along this edge. I've not actually fished in this swim. Try and see if we can tuck in here. Fish are coming a rod short on the margin. Bit of bait over them. Jesus Christ! Crap! Don't walk down there. Right, here's the rig then. Same thing's gone out on all three rods. I've just got a fluorocarbon hook length, 20 pound. I've got a hair whipped on to a sharpened hook. Just claw style with the tubing just before it gets round onto the point. That makes the point heavy. Then I've got a straight hardened bottom bait, and then that's also a sinking piece of plastic cork, and that is plastic sweet corn, get it right, and that's basically just an anti-cray rig. Just adds a little flash of colour to the rig, doesn't sort of pop up or sit there, it literally just sit on the bottom. Nice heavy bait. I find the crays seem to avoid the straight bottom baits, especially anything hardened, and they seem to love a pop-up and that sort of stuff, so I try and avoid that if I can. So I've just got a leg clip, no tubing, nothing tungsten. I've literally got rid of my tungsten kickers and everything because the crays eat it, so I've just got everything just sort of silicone tubing based, no tungsten in there at all. Even the kicker is just a standard quarter kicker. And that is the business. I've got the same on all three rods, just a sort of different colour bit of plastic corner maze, and that's going out now. I'm just going to put a spreader boilie over the top of three rods, short range. See if it can happen. It's got dark there, as you can probably see, and it's taken ages in the rain, but I'm going to flick them out now and hopefully we can have one. Rod one's going out into the wind. Bang, nice. Alright, rod number two going out. This is the bait for the session, and I've got about 3 kilo in there. This is 18mm S7 and bug. You might be able to see it's got a bit of a skin on it. That's because I basically took this out of the freezer yesterday, gave it a little bit of liquid, a couple of different liquids, just so that as it's thawing it basically soaks in all that liquid, makes it even more attractive. And then I dusted it with some of the krill meal and some of the insect meal, and then dusted it all off, shook it all around to give it all a nice coating. And what that does, it basically gives it an extra layer of attraction. Doesn't last a long time, it washes off relatively quickly, but it gives it an extra layer of attraction. The liquid obviously penetrates the bait and makes them more attractive, but the dusting basically means that it makes it a lot easier to put them out. You don't get covered in loads of sticky liquid and stuff. They're actually dry to put out, and it makes it a lot easier and a lot they go out a lot further. So anyway, let's get a few out there. The rods are in the wet stuff and we are fishing, and to be honest it feels like I've been in the wet stuff for the past couple of hours. The rain has been relentless. It's been really difficult trying to get everything sorted and get settled in and getting the rods out in the pond, but we are fishing and we've got 3 rods out, quite short range with a bit of bait over the top of them. Now I'm not going to go into the tactics now, I'll go into that tomorrow when it's light. I'll also explain why I've got in where I am and all that sort of stuff, but for now it is time to put a bit of food on, crack open a beer, and just chill out for the evening, and hopefully we get disturbed by a fish at some point. Now, from previous experience on here, the bites have all been in the morning, so if anything's going to happen, I'm expecting it to be a morning bite. But I do know that people catch throughout the day and night. It's just, that's how it's been for me, but there's definitely a morning feeding spell for sure. But to be honest, I haven't fished it until sort of the end of the summer really, so that could be completely different now, and the fish might be feeding at any time. So hopefully they're up for a bit of food, hopefully they're on the feed. But it's very mild, very wet, very windy, and it looks really good for it. There's actually a couple of other blokes on here, so that might also signal the fact that it's not been fishing too well. Maybe the odd fish have been getting caught. But anyway, other than the road in the background, it is nice and quiet, and it's a lovely bit of water, and it's relatively unfished as well at the moment. So yeah, fingers crossed we'll have one of these absolute mega ones that are in here, and we get disturbed by something. But it's time for some food, time to crack open a beer, so let's crack on and do that, and I catch up with you guys in the morning, unless I have a fish in the meantime. Stove, and it seems about time in the year, first session on the big syndicate, and I thought, you know what, it's time to crack open the cider. Oh, now we're fishing. Cheers. Oh, I've missed that taste. Well, good morning. It is a coffee update time. Unfortunately, nothing happened last night. I'm not surprised though. Like I said, big pit. It's very deep, low stock. Coming out of the winter, it's always going to be tricky. And yeah, I'm not surprised to have not had anything. But there's always hope, and I've still got the day ahead of me. So you never know. I might have one in the day. But I thought I'd just tell you quickly why I got in where I am and the tactics I'm using. So the reason for getting in where I am is basically I wanted to fish just off the wind. This time of year, the water temperature is still pretty cold, and I don't want to be getting right in the teeth of the wind. Even if it is a mild wind, I still don't think it's going to be that comfortable for the fish. So all I've done is just go slightly off the side of the wind. So I'm not in the teeth of it. I'm fishing just off the side of where the main bit of the wind's pushing into, and I think that's because the fish will potentially follow that wind still, because it is a mild wind, it's a southwesterly, but they might not want to get right on the end of it because the water temperature is still quite cold and it might not be as comfortable there. So that's my thinking behind that. Tactics wise, well, this place used to be a crayfish farm. It's absolutely full of them. I've never seen so many crayfish in my life. It is insane, to be fair, how many are in here, and they are absolutely monsters. They look like lobsters. So because of that, bait is pretty basic, and that's because the crayfish will just destroy you. Now, I don't fish a spot on here, and the reason for that is I don't want to concentrate a load of bait in one area that the crayfish can all hoard in on. If you put a pile of bait, you will just get masses of crayfish just absolutely cover that bait and cover your spot. And although I do think the carp do like eating them, I think it's only at certain times when they're shedding their shells. I think most of the time they're actually pretty aggressive, mean little bastards, if I'm honest. So I don't really want, I don't want that happening. I don't want them getting over the top of the spot. So what I tend to do is fish a spread of bait, and it obviously is going to be boilie. So I fish a wider, bigger area. I'm normally looking for silt pockets, silty runs, that sort of thing. And then I just fish a spread of boilie. Then I just fish 3 hook baits dotted along that sort of line of bait. And the reason for that is the crayfish have got to go a long way to get to a bait, so they're going to not bother, hopefully. Whereas with the fish, they can swim, the carp can swim about, so it's easy for them to move around and pick the baits up. It also makes them a lot easier to hook. If you've got a moving fish going from one bait to another, every time it drops down, it's got to suck a bait up, upright itself, and that uprighting is what's going to straighten the hook length and nail them. And if every time it's dropping down, it's sucking a bait up, uprighting, moving off, sucking a bait up, uprighting, moving off, then it drops down, sucks up your hook bait, it's still going to upright, bang, hooked itself, bolt, off it goes, job's a good one. So that's why I like using that tactic. So it works for the crayfish and it works for the style of fishing and the nature of the lake as well. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. The rods are out there still. I'm going to redo them again in a bit, but for the time being, I'm going to finish my coffee, have a bit of food, and hopefully we will have one to show you. But if not, it's all about learning and understanding the water and building up that picture for future sessions. So that is exactly what I'm going to be doing while I'm having my coffee. Right, I thought I'd show you the swim. Just been going around doing a bit of filming with the camera. But there's the SLR, ProLogic SLR, just tucked in there. I've got it set up as a brolly, which is why it's sideways, just to keep the weight down a bit. Would have been better off bringing the front really, so I could have faced the lake, but it is what it is. So yeah, it's just tucked in this tree line here. They've basically cut a little indentation in that tree line so you can tuck yourself away. And then if you turn around, the rods are down there, so quite far from the rods. You do need a sounder box. This swim I've decided to call the slopey swim, or the slippery slope, and that's because I fell down it. You might be able to see, I fell over going down there last night. Oh, Jesus Christ! And so now I've just been going down the grass because this bit's so slippery. Yeah, that's the swim. The rods are literally just sort of plopped out along here, quite close in, just sort of dotted along here. I've just got a spread of boilie. So that's what I'm doing. But yeah, lovely, as you can see, it's a lovely bit of water, lovely lake, goes all the way down for a long way. Probably take you about 10 minutes to get down to the bottom end. There's an absolute graft getting down there. It's proper overgrown. That bottom end down there on this bank is so overgrown. In the summer it's hard to get through, where it's everything's all grown up and that. It's really difficult to get through, especially with a barrow. But yeah, and then that's where I've come from. The van is sort of over there in the car park, so I've had to come all the way around here, all the way back on myself. This is like a bay bit around here, and then come up along here. So yeah, it just gives you a bit of an idea. But as you can see, the wind's kind of coming in on a bit of an angle down here. Yesterday it was going more sort of straight down that way. It's kind of sort of angled in a bit more to this bank, but it's coming in this sort of way, so I felt like I was fishing a bit off the wind, whereas now the wind has definitely angled more into this bank, so I'm kind of just on it. But to be fair, this whole bank along here is kind of on the wind now, so yeah, the conditions have changed basically, the weather's changed, but it is what it is. Thought I'd just show you the hardware that I'm using on here. So this is what I was using last season. I've actually got a new set of rods on the way from ProLogic, so I will be changing over to them, but they're a similar sort of style to these basically. So this is the hardware that I'm using. So I have got 10 foot 3.5 pound elements, and these are retractable, so the butt retracts, the butt section of the rod retracts into the butt section of the handle, or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, they retract down, and then obviously you fold them down, so they pack down nice and compact. I think it's like 50 inches or something like that. I've got some little sort of mini big pits. These are the DAM dark sides. So these are like a sort of mini sort of big pit style front drag reel. And we've got folding handles on them, which are really handy. I love a folding handle. It's so much easier to pack stuff away. You haven't got to mess around twiddling knobs, loosening and tightening stuff. So yeah, that's the reels that I use. I've got 0.40 mono on there, which is the Barclay Flex. I've been using that. I used that last year, obviously started on it again this year. And then obviously the alarms, they're just the C series, cheap and cheerful, but they do the job. And I've got the big PTF bobbins on there as well. Now this lake at the moment is quite high, and the water levels are quite high, but normally you do need long bank sticks. Now I forgot my standard bank sticks, and this swim I could have got away with standard bank sticks, so I've got no back rod rest, so I have got the drag set nice and loose. But I've also got the big butt eye this side of the alarm, so if the fish does sort of pull it quite hard, the rod's not going to go anywhere. And I've got a nice big long bank stick on the front there to support the rods. Now normally I use those big ones because in some of the swims you actually have to wade out to get the rods past the marginal structure. So in some of the swims you've got reeds going out quite far, and you need to get the rods out beyond them. So obviously if you have a take and it kites, it's just going to go through all the reeds. So yeah, a lot of the time I'm using long bank sticks and I'm fishing it like that. But yeah, that's the rods, nice and simple, do the job, nice and compact as well. I'm not fishing out long range on here. I found last year that just fishing short, fishing the marginal areas seemed to be the main feature the fish seem to like. So the 10-foot rods are absolutely perfect for it, and then much lighter and easier to move around and carry about as well. So yeah, that is the hardware. Just jumping in here to mention that we are currently running a competition. We run competitions every month, and it gives you guys the chance to win something to say thanks for supporting the channel. So all you need to do is make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you need to answer the question that was in the previous video. So go check out the previous video, watch the video, check out the giveaway, and win yourself some wicked goodies. There will be monthly giveaways all through 2024, so plenty of stuff to get your hands on if you're lucky. Anyway, back to the video. Just going to check one of the rods. See if we've had any problems with crays or not. Well, we've had a bit of attention. So I'm not going to redo the other ones because at the end of the day, that other rod, this rod was fishing. I only redid it because I'd reeled it in. I know that those other rods are going to be fishing, so I'm not going to redo them all because I don't think it's necessary to do that. If I was here for longer, I would redo them all, but because I'm only here for another couple of hours, it's not worth me doing it. Right, so that left rod's back out there fishing. As you would have seen, it was whittled down a little bit by the crayfish, and that is why I use those hard hookers. They find it really hard to get at them, and when you put a bit of plastic on top and melt down the floss into the plastic, it almost seals that bait on there so they can't pull it off. If you use a hair rig with a hair stop, those crays will pull that hair stop off and they would just pull the bait off the hair. So you need something that's going to seal it on. What I wanted to say is, on these sessions, on these kind of venues, there will be a lot of blanks. And last year I did a handful of sessions on here. I had a handful of fish and there were a few blanks mixed in. And that's going to happen, you know. It's a low stock water, it's a difficult water at times, and the fish aren't always going to be on the feed, you're not always going to be on the fish. It's very, very difficult to read sometimes. Depends on how many people are fishing as well. And all I would say is, if you watch these videos and you think, well, you're just putting up blanks, mate. Well, yeah, I am putting up blanks, and the reason for that is I'm trying to document the reality of fishing. There's a lot of people that come into fishing and they think it's all about catch, catch, catch. And if you want to target big fish on lower stock waters like this, you need to expect a blank. Now, don't take a blank as a loss. A blank is just a step to your next win, and what you learn from your blanks will build up throughout your season and will aid you to catch more fish going forward. So I blanked a few times last year. I realised that, you know, certain areas weren't worth fishing, or maybe depending on conditions I need to be in certain places, and I only learnt that through blanking and doing the wrong thing, and that means that next time you can do the right thing. So just take that in mind and just remember that you will blank. It's not a bad thing. It just builds up your knowledge and makes you understand what you're doing wrong so that you can always do the right thing. And the more you blank over time, the less you will blank in the future. That's how I see it anyway. So anyway, if you're watching this and you're thinking, great, you're blanking, this is interesting, it might not be for you. Don't have to watch it. But for the guys out there that appreciate that side of things and want to understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and see the reality of that fishing, then this is definitely for you. And if it is, smash that subscribe button. That's a great little plug there. Anyway, also give it a like, why not? Anyway, I haven't got long left now and I've got a couple of hours to go, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another coffee, I'm going to slowly pack the kit down, and then we'll probably be sort of getting towards the end of the session. I have got to go to work tonight, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So I want to try and get packed down, back home and see the lad before I go to work. And yeah, anyway, there's still time. We could have one. I'm not losing the hope yet. The rods are still in the pond. There's every chance it could happen. Got myself a little instant mocha. So how that goes. Looks pretty tasty, to be honest. Just thought I'd have a bit of a snack. So I'm trying to keep a bit of or I'm trying to get some extra protein in my diet lately. I've started my training again. I've got a gym in my garage, and I've started training, started lifting again, started doing some quite heavy lift, low rep ranges. And a lot of you might not know this, but I actually used to be a personal trainer. I was massively into bodybuilding when I was younger, and at one point I was 6% body fat, would you believe? And I just thought I'd point out, if any of you guys get these sort of things, then just keep in mind, when it says fat free, that's an absolute load of nonsense. That's just marketing. This is fruit, it's a yogurt, so generally it's quite low in fat anyway, but yogurt has a lot of sugar in it, and the sugar is obviously what's the high in calorie thing in a yogurt. So you want to be keeping an eye out for sugars, not so much your fats. A lot of fat is actually quite good for you, and you will need a decent amount of fat in your diet. You want to be careful not to have too much sugar, so just keep that in mind. But apparently this has got 25 grams of protein. That's probably going to come from the milk content, I would imagine, which is what a lot of this sort of stuff's based around. It's the milk content that gives you the protein. But anyway, keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to smash this back and then have my coffee. Well, you join me at the front of the swim by the rods. This is where I've been stood a lot today. Now hopefully you can see me. I've got a bit of a mass on my chest. That's because I've got the GoPro underneath. I've also got the wireless mic hidden in there to try and keep it out of the wind. But basically I've been stood at the front of the swim a lot, trying to watch the water. I've not seen anything. I've stood in this swim, I've stood next door, stood in the one to my left as well, down the bank, and I've not seen a single fish show the whole day. It's been very, very quiet. It's about 3 or 4 o'clock now, and I'm going to have to get on the road because I need to go to work this evening. So, oh yeah, it looks like it's going to be a blank, unfortunately. Now, one thing I did want to mention is we are running a competition at the moment. We run a competition every month throughout 2024, and at the moment you can win 5 pots of the fluoro hook baits from DNA. So they're fluoro range. You can win a pot of each one basically in 15mm. So if you're interested in that, go and check the video before this one, because that'll have all the details on there. But yeah, we run monthly competitions so you guys can win something. At the moment we're doing a lot of bait, but we'll try and put some other stuff in there as well. There's also going to be some different content this year. I'm hoping to do a European adventure at some point. Nothing penciled in, but the idea is there. Also, we want to try and touch on a few new day tickets and places we haven't been before. So if you've got any ideas or any suggestions that you'd like to see, whack them in the comments below. If you want to enter that competition, make sure you're subscribed and go and watch that previous video, because you need to answer the question on that video. Anyway, I'm going to call it quits now. I'm going to get packed up and go home. So thanks for watching. Give the video a like if you liked it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And until next time, get on the bank, be lucky, and I will see you guys next Tuesday at 6:30. Would have been nice if one of them went off, wouldn't it, as I was doing an outro. I mean, what an ending that would have been. Can't get the fish, can you? Can't get the staff.